Good evening and welcome to Telling Tales. Here we tell atmospheric stories together through the medium of tabletop role-playing games. It's a Monday night, which means you've tuned in to watch Call of Cthulhu's 7th edition. This is the third arc in our anthology series, and this arc is called Baile. The previous arcs, Darkwood and Fingask, are available in full on our YouTube, so go and check those out if you would like to. Let's say hi to our stream manager, John.
Hello.
Hi, John. How are you?
I'm not too bad.
Good.
How are you?
I'm good, thank you. I'm very excited to see what happens this week after the end of the last session.
I thought you might be.
Yeah. So John is responsible in many ways for the pictures that will appear on screen this evening, in that he makes them appear and also he drew a lot of them.
I made them appear the first time.
You made them appear once and now you do so again and again.
Just keep coming back.
So below the stream, there are links to our YouTube if you're watching this on Twitch, or Twitch if you're watching this on YouTube. Also our social media, our Twitter and Instagram, our Discord, which you can join and come and chat to us about all things tabletop role-playing games and other. And also our Patreon, which you can, if you like the stream, you can sign up to different tiers of support in there, ranging all the way from access to bits of our Discord that other people don't have access to, where you can ask us loads of questions and get behind the scenes info and all that kind of stuff. And all the way up to Matt, who runs other shows on the channel, running a game for you and your friends once a month. Which is a very worthwhile investment because Matt's very good, which I would never say to his face. So other things on the channel, as I said, Monday night, Call of Cthulhu, Tuesday night, Blades in the Dark, Wednesday night, Simba Room. The first Saturday of every month, we have a different one-shot, which is run by different people and has different people playing, and it's different systems every time. So that's the first Saturday of the month. And so far we've had Alien, Troika, Morkborg, Fiasco, The Expanse, Honey Heist, The One Ring 2nd edition, and this Saturday just gone, Pierre ran Dungeon World, which is great. And the next one is the first Saturday in October, which I think is the 2nd. Yes. And that is going to be a game called Wander Home, which Chris, who plays in Simba Room, is going to be running. It's very exciting, cute game. Very much unlike this game. So let's do some recaps on last week. If Sam can come on, who plays Jemima. Hi, Sam.
I'm sorry. Oh, there we go. I'll put my thing down. I'm sorry. I'm still just when we're talking about adorable and then compare it to this game, my brain just goes. Oh no. Oh, we have to play it now. Oh no. Sorry. Go on.
Do you want to tell us a little bit about the start of the day, Saturday that you were enjoying?
It all kind of fell into shadow at the end after the end part, but I'll try my best to remember the things that happened before that point. So we woke up. We had kind of lots of big plans the evening before about things we wanted to do the next day. As we came downstairs, there was a fair amount of discussion around the dreams that we had over the previous night, which were all kind of Old Testament biblical. The great plagues of Egypt that were brought down upon them to kind of encourage them to release the encourage is probably a soft word to release the God's people, the Jews. We kind of discussed them for a little bit, realized that was what our dreams were. Some of those plagues had some unpleasant realizations that maybe other things going on the island could be related to other plagues, which was rather unsettling. I think we were kind of keeping an eye out for that as well. And then headed off to. I don't think much more happened in the pub really. So we headed off to the cottage to meet Mary Brown and the Reverend, and they were up and looking at things. I kind of barged in quite quickly with the Old Testament that it was pointed out I just stole from the pub, immediately pointed out all of our dreams to them. We had a bit of discussion about them. I don't remember much more that the Reverend said about the dreams. He didn't really have much to add other than it made sense. I think he told us something about the order of them, maybe like the last one was the firstborn son dying. That was the one thing I remember being a bit, oh, okay, that's a bit worrying that's maybe the next one or something. And we got wondering if Netta was a firstborn and things. I can't remember if we knew if she was or not, to be honest.
She was an only child.
She was an only child, so yes, that's what I was wondering. Then I think that was kind of about it there. So we decided to head out for the investigations of the day. I had a quick jaunt down to the kind of the docks for where the ferry comes in, but didn't really get much use from there. I was kind of hoping to find out if the vet was coming, but didn't get much information. So we went off to kind of head over to the farms that we'd seen one of the two farms the other day, but not the other one. So we were going to see them, but on the way we were also going to stop at Netta's, where Netta was found, where she was presumably killed or died, or maybe not. We don't really know yet, to be fair. And we didn't really gain much useful information on the way otherwise, or when we got there otherwise, until I decided to get out my my powder, dust of Ibn Ghazi, it's called, and throw it over the cross, like kind of that's cut into the ground. And when I did so, it revealed some kind of ethereal-seeming flames that appeared only where the dust had kind of fallen, which was pretty cool, interesting. So it was like it was on fire, like as if it was on fire now in a way. It didn't seem like it was something else, but it could only be seen or shown with the dust. And that lasted for a number of heartbeats, and then passed away. And I think Dane, I forget everyone's names, wanted to have a quick little test on the coin to see if it was kind of showed the flames as well, but the coin itself did not have anything on it. Didn't seem to be burning, even when it was put on the flames. So it wasn't like there was something going on there. It's an interesting test, though, to be fair. We had a quick look at the lake as well. Didn't see anything really going on there. It looked very normal, if I remember correctly. Then we headed off to the farm.
Yeah. So Inga, who plays Eliza. Hi, Inga. Tell us a little about the Ferguson farm.
Yeah. So we went to the Ferguson farm. I think the only other thing was that we suggested we might come back to the lock like at night time and see if that might be a bit different. So we set off to the Ferguson farm, realizing there wasn't really anything else there that we could get today or on the day. We didn't get a whole lot of extra info. We got a few like little details. So he said that the knife, it was Cameron Ferguson of the Ferguson farm. Yeah. So he said it was something like a church would have if churches had knives, which with the biblical themes is maybe kind of interesting. And that the blade was like the tarnished silver that we've been seeing everywhere, but the handle was made of carved bone, which I'm not sure that we knew beforehand. We just knew about the silver of it. We just, again, a few like little details about the night that Netta was found. So we knew that Cameron had been the one to go out and get the police while Jimmy stayed with the body, which may or may not come to anything, who knows, but it was another little detail that we kind of learned. And when you kind of described her as kind of laying down, kind of relaxed on the ground, it's possibly in a sort of crucifix sort of position, given that she was on a cross. But again, it's all a bit maybe. He said that he wasn't having any problems on his farm with his cows or anything like that. But then we suddenly got a phone call that came at the farm from Mary to tell us to go to back to the McRae farm because there was something to see there. So we start to head off. And just as we're leaving, Cameron tells us that his child has lice. So it seems like another one of the plagues has struck the island, which was definitely a bit foreboding as we were kind of leaving off to go and do something else pressing, who knows what. But yeah, that was the farm.
Nice, thanks. Matt, who plays Dane. Hey, Matt. What happened when you got back to the McRae farm?
So we went to the McRae farm, and Mrs. McRae kind of rushed out straight away and handed us something that she'd found in a field nearby, which was a journal. So one of Netta's diaries, like actually her final diary. She'd not sent anything through to the police or anything like that, so we were the first to get our hands on this. The diary kind of covered just a few days leading up to her disappearance. Starting on the Thursday, it's kind of talking about how, starting on the Wednesday, she's talking about how she's heading out to visit the lock, and she feels like there's a lot of energy coalescing in the area. She's talking about her kind of good, quite wholesome intentions with whatever she's doing. She mentions that Dion is really worried about this book, but she thinks she can use it for good. It kind of implies, although I think the group disagree on this ultimately, it kind of implies that she had the book or has the book at this point. On the Thursday, her note kind of says that she's seen through the veil, and whatever she's been doing, she's strayed off piste, off the right path, and she's very, very nervous about it, and she kind of wishes Dion was there to kind of, I guess, rein her in a little bit. But she mentions she's going to meet a contact on the Friday who she thinks is going to be able to help her and shed some light on the book, presumably. On that Friday, her note says that she's seen it, which in this case is the demon Sultan, and that it could destroy everything, and she thinks it saw her as well. And that she needs to leave. Effectively, she is planning to leave, and also mentions that her contact has the book now. So again, the group don't entirely agree on this, but it seems like perhaps the contact has now kind of taken the book off her if she did have it in the first place. And then the Saturday note just says that it's useless. There's nothing that can be done. God help us all. Kind of cheery note to that effect. So obviously seems like everything went very well. So obviously Miss McCrae is kind of not in a good way with this. The group are kind of asking her what she thinks about it, presuming that she's read the diary, but she just thinks the girl had gone completely mad. We ask if she's seen her meet anybody, I guess to try and figure out who this he was, but she doesn't know. She also hadn't seen any of the journals. We then ask if she's had any nightmares or anything like that. Again, trying to figure out whether the whole island is having the kind of nightmares that we'd had earlier. Again, she's got kind of nothing from Mrs. McCrae's side. And then we all agree that we need to show Mary and the Reverend this immediately. Dana's a little bit apprehensive about whether Mary and the Reverend maybe knew all along that Netta had the book, which is the kind of his take of the diary. It seems too much of a coincidence that they wouldn't if she did have it. And he thinks that maybe if Mary and the Reverend did know this, that maybe they didn't know what they were advising us to find at Mr. McCrae's farm. So he runs back and checks with Miss McCrae whether she told them it was a journal, and she did. And that, for Dane, suggests that, well, Mary and the Reverend wouldn't have sent the group there if they knew it was a diary that was going to, arouse our suspicions. So he thinks that they're kind of innocent in his head at this point. There's a few suggestions. Edmund suggests calling Dion again, maybe to find out a bit more about their discussions. And then we really need to just figure out as a group how we're going to announce this to Mary and co, whether we maybe need to give them a bit of a test to make sure that we can trust them. And all the while, Eliza's kind of making a copy of the journal as well. And then after that discussion, we decide to kind of take this to Mary and the Reverend.
Yeah, and Steve, who plays Edmund. Hi, Steve. Do you want to give us the conclusion of last week's?
Well, yes. Yeah, I think Matt covered some of what I was going to say. I'm just looking whether there's anything else that I need to add. I don't think so. I think there was some question as to whether the meeting, this contact, had been physical or spiritual between Netta and this contact. We're not sure. I think Eliza was wondering perhaps whether it was a sort of a spiritual thing, that Netta reached out to someone. Edmund was more of the view that it was an actual meeting with a person who helped her, gave her knowledge of how to pierce the veil, and then that allowed her to fatefully see beyond. Anyway, so we discussed things on the way back to the cottage. Jemima bursts in quite eagerly as before. The Reverend is slumped on the floor by the fireplace, and he's looking drawn and tear-streaked, and he gives this rather terrifying confession. The main points of which are, it was him. He's real, isn't he? The damned music is like a hymn, but wrong. And he made me do it. And there's a trail of footprints that lead into the next room. And in there is a scene of bloody devastation. And Mary Brown lies on the floor, dead, next to an inverted crucifix, which is fashioned from her own internal organs.
And for everybody seeing that, can I have a sanity roll, please? I think, was it only Eliza that stayed away?
Yeah, Eliza
to keep an eye on the
gun pointed at the Reverend.
Yeah.
Okay, well, Edmund rolls a 6.
Okay.
I rolled a 96.
Ooh.
Okay.
Rolled a 78, which is a fail.
Okay, those who succeeded, 1 sanity loss. Those who failed, 3 sanity loss.
Ooh. Edmund has
Please.
seen some shit, though. So
That's surprisingly little. Not that I'm asking for more. It's fine.
And there is a knock at the door.
Uh-oh.
Where are we all? It sounds like I'm
Mentally or physically?
getting jumped in.
So
Is the door even
the-
closed yet? Did we close the door behind us when we came bursting in?
I imagine we probably did. That's normal etiquette, right? Maybe not, though, given this circumstance.
if it's not fully closed, it's sort of just ajar. So where you are, so basically this downstairs room is almost a room split in two by the fireplace. So there are sort of doorways around either side of the fireplace leading into the room where Mary Brown now lay. So I pictured you three as kind of being on that threshold into the next room and have probably stopped as soon as you've seen what's there. Whereas Eliza, I presumed, would be just inside the door to the building as a whole.
To be perfectly honest, I failed that roll. I don't think Jemima's noticed the knock at the door. She's kind of just screamed the instant she saw this.
I think if Eliza hears a knock at the door, like presumably it's the front doors and like the one right behind her.
Right behind you, yeah.
Stay back! Don't come in here! I guess I will like half turn to sort of like see if out of the corner of my eye the door is moving at all, but like I want to keep that gun trained on the Reverend.
Eliza, don't come. Just watch him.
Jemima is still kind of whimpering, screaming.
Is everything all right in there? It's Kate's voice.
Dave definitely cannot move.
Get the police! Don't come in here, but tell the police to come here immediately.
Oh
now!
Reverend Moore and Mrs. Brown, are they
They're
okay?
not okay. Get the police.
You hear the dropping of something and then running feet outside.
You better have a very good explanation for what is going on here, Reverend.
He has his head in his hands and is just kind of rocking and quietly crying.
Who is he? Who is he?
No response.
In the background to all this, Dave is just kind of muttering to himself and sort of looking up and then looking at the scene and then just sort of putting his head back down again and muttering.
Jemima hasn't taken her eyes off it and is just kind of whimpering a bit, kind of slumped half against the wall, staring dead on at her mutilated corpse.
Mary, where's Mary? Jemima? Edmund, where's Mary?
Miss Smith, just stay there.
She's dead.
Don't come in here.
What?
You don't want to see this.
Raise the gun a little higher, almost just like
Oh, my God.
repositioning it very firmly at the Reverend.
Although it's making her suffer for it, Jemima, now having slightly recovered, stands up and goes to get a closer look at exactly what's happened.
Okay.
You knew it was going to happen at some point, Jonny. You had to have had a description ready.
So basically, she has been cut straight down the middle. And then quite unceremoniously kind of pulled apart, and that's as much as you can tell in terms of exactly what has happened. In, you know, obviously everything is removed, but in terms of sort of, not that you want an actual picture of what's happened, but in terms of an actual picture of sort of a sequence of events, you can get as far as a relatively clean cut and then a sort of just a.
So, is there a, can I see the knife? Is there a knife? I'm looking for the bone-handled tarnished knife.
You can't see it here.
Can I am definitely not okay, but Jemima's way of dealing with things is to assess. Can I try and make any sort of biology roll to assess how she died?
Was there a struggle? Was
there a fight?
Yeah,
or a
sure.
struggle?
Yeah. Make us a roll.
Is biology okay?
Yeah.
Yay. I passed.
Okay. There does look to have been some sign of a struggle, but maybe less than you would expect.
Okay. So like surprised her or something, maybe would be the...
Quite possibly. Yeah. What else do you want to know?
Can I see? Is it? I mean, she's pretty messed up, so my answer might be a no. But is it obvious that she was killed a certain way?
You from what you can see, it looks like these wounds that she has sustained is what has caused it. At what point during what was happening she died, you're not sure.
Okay. I think Jemima is now like knelt down and kind of weeping slightly at the assessment she's had. She hasn't said anything.
Dana's kind of tried to have another look and just caught himself kind of, and is now just retching at the threshold again.
Can I make like a psychology roll or something to see if I basically I'm trying to gather whether I think the Reverend is faking it or not.
Yeah, make a psychology roll.
4. Double O means not 0. It's double O.
Yeah, that's a 4. Yeah. His reaction when you entered the building was pretty convincing. You don't think that he's faking it, and you're not sure how long it will take him to come out of this state, considering what he's kind of just realized that he's done.
I don't know what's going on. The rest of you are all still back in there looking at you're kind of focused that way, aren't you? Yeah, I'm gonna stay with the gun pointed, just quietly waiting, I guess.
I think Dana's gonna sort of seem like he's recovering a little bit and head over to Eliza and the Reverend. And is the Reverend kind of sitting down, like slumped over?
Yeah, he's basically sort of leaned back against the wall, his knees kind of up towards his chest, and then his head in his hands.
Okay. I think Dane is going to sort of walk right in front of him, as long as he's not in the line of sight of Eliza.
Yeah.
And just sort of squat to his level so that he's at his head height.
Mm-hmm.
And if necessary, sort of pull his head back so that he's looking at him.
Yeah.
And just look at him for a second. Just look at him for a few seconds, kind of see. Again, he's not made the same assessment as Eliza yet, so
he's basically sort of on-off making eye contact with you. He definitely doesn't seem like he wants to sort of look you in the eye. So you lift his head and he's just kind of...
Do you know what you've done?
Yes, I know what I've done.
Okay. Then you just stand up and look at Eliza and say, keep that on him.
Dane, I just told Kate to get the police. They'll take everything as evidence. It was stupid of me. I panicked. Anything we need to find out what's going on. We may need to take things out of here.
The scientists are in there, so if we can learn anything, I'm sure we'll learn what we can.
No, the notes, all the information they had on Netta, the earrings, just anything that we had about this investigation, we need to take it. The police will take it all otherwise, and we don't have Mary anymore to pull strings.
Okay, so. Yeah, kind of realization will strike Dane at this point, then that there's not very long, and he'll squat again in front of the Reverend and say, Reverend, you have about 2 minutes before you're never coming back here. Is there anything we need? Anything hidden?
The stuff that you gave us, and Mary, she wrote some things on a scrap of paper on the table from what she was doing this morning. Just probably next to her phone number book.
Okay, so Dane will kind of, I guess he's kind of going over to have a look at where he thinks it is, and then kind of having a look back at the Reverend to see if he's sort of like even just showing him with his eyes where he should be going. Make sure he's going the right way.
You see on the table, quite obvious, is the earrings that Eliza brought from the McRae farm. And then there is a small sort of dark red book, which you might assume was the book with phone numbers in, if you wanted to have a look at that.
I think Dan will just pocket as much as he can, and anything he can't pocket, he's going to kind of pass to Eliza for her to pocket.
Yeah,
in the general vicinity of where the Reverend indicated.
Yeah. So there is this book, and then there's a couple of scraps of paper near it as well, with sort of hastily scrawled notes on it, in what you recognise as Mary's handwriting. There are also sort of the newspaper clippings and things that I said about when you first came in this room. There's a few of those still around that you don't know whether they'd be relevant or not to what you're looking at, but you could quite easily sort of crumple those up and shove them in a pocket as well.
Okay. He realizes he's like the worst person for this job because he's not sure what's significant or what isn't, but yeah, just grabbing as much as possible.
Cool.
Yeah, without looking kind of ridiculous in a puffer jacket.
Okay.
Police arrive, scene of the crime.
I'll try to hand over the journal entries as well. If he passes by Eliza again, just pull those out and hand them over.
So as he's doing this, Dane's going to kind of shout back to the Reverend and just say, "Reverend, don't tell them anything. Tell them nothing."
He's just still got his head in his hands.
You need to take these somewhere else, Dane. They can't be found here. If we want to keep...
Perhaps you should go. Oh, yes. Perhaps if you got the stuff, then get out of here now before they arrive.
Okay. Oh God.
Just go back to Mrs. McRae. Go back to Mrs. McRae and say that we decided to split up and one of us wanted to stay with her. Just go back to Mrs. McRae.
Okay. Christ. I think, is Dane possibly going to have, like, is he treading blood everywhere or anything? Or
not if you Jemima almost certainly would be. I think if you'd stayed at the threshold to the room, all there was there really was the other bloody footprints. So it's unlikely that you would have picked up enough sort of on your shoe, even if you'd stood directly on one of those to be trailing it around. So I think you're fine.
Okay. So yeah, I guess I'll just looking at Eliza and then just I'll head out the door. And I suppose after leaving the door, instinct is to run, but he's going to realize he's not going to run. This is a terrible idea. So just kind of maybe puts his hood up on his jacket and then just walks towards the farm.
Cool. Right. Let's take Matt off screen for a moment while we deal with the fact that there is a shout of police from outside the door.
Oh dear.
Jemima
about a minute probably after Dane leaves.
Jemima is still kneeling exactly by the corpse. I'm presuming based on the back of my roll as well. She's just died, hasn't she? I mean, we could assess with that anyway, given the circumstances when we arrived. But this happened like just now before we arrived.
Yeah, I mean, you've only been out of here for like 2 hours maximum. Yeah. You were last here.
So you couldn't tell within that space of time anyway. So yeah, it just happened. So
well, I guess how long did it take? Because we left the farm, Cameron's farm, to head to Mrs. McRae's on the basis of a phone call from Mary. So
yeah, true. Even less time. Yeah, that's true. So yeah, I think Jemima will be quietly saying, probably to Edmund or whoever's nearby to hear, it must have been here, just here, moments before we arrived. The creature must have been right here, in this room probably. And I think at that, even if the police are like coming in the building, she might just get the powder out of her pocket and just throw it over the body.
Okay, yeah, that's fine. So 2 men sort of push the door open. And instantly one of them says, "Ma'am, please put the gun down."
He's done something to Mary. He's done something to her.
Okay, ma'am, please put the gun down.
I'll lower the gun and slowly lower the gun as I sort of turn to look at them. And if I see what look like normal people who could well be policemen, I'll fully lower it, I guess.
They look, they do look like normal people who could be policemen. They also look mildly uncomfortable because they're volunteer policemen on a small Scottish island now being faced with they don't know what, but they've walked in and somebody's pointing a gun at somebody else. So they definitely don't look comfortable, but they don't look otherworldly.
Yeah. So yeah, I'll lower it, but still hold it and just sort of slowly take a couple of probably slightly stumbly steps backwards to sort of let them in, I guess.
But by the way, Edmund, where are you at this point? Are you kind of in the threshold between the 2 rooms, seeing both of us and the door, or are you...
Probably, yes. I think I kind of, yeah.
So you can kind of see everything. Gotcha. That's what I was wondering. So you've just seen me do this powder thing and the police come in the other door.
The other policeman says, "Ma'am, could you please pass that to me?" And holds a hand out towards Eliza.
He's done something. He's dangerous. He can't. No, you've got to arrest him. Hold him. I don't know. You've got to do something.
He looks over towards John Moore sat on the floor, and then turns back to you and says, "Okay, ma'am, but we're here. I can take this."
I will hesitate and reluctantly hand over the gun and immediately back out of the door, putting them between me and the Reverend.
Okay.
Oh, so you're outside now, are you? Is that?
I think like just outside, like still very much looking in, but yeah.
So.
And maybe looking about, just very, very quick glance to see if I can see Dane at all. It's not been that long.
The one who didn't take the gun from you kind of kneels next to Reverend Moore and says, "Cat," and says, "Reverend, is everything okay?" And the other policeman who's holding the gun kind of looks around, sees a relative state of disarray around the table, and then kind of turns, sees Edmund, and then kind of leans and goes, "My God." And kind of almost zombie-like kind of starts walking forwards and passes his colleague kneeling down on the floor next to the Reverend, walks almost next to Edmund, sees into the next room, kind of vaguely, eyes kind of shift to Jemima, and then back to everything else in the room. And then he turns around and vomits on the floor. And his colleague goes, what's going on?" And then he goes, Take him away." And the other officer kind of stands up from his kneeling position and looks around a little confused, and then basically sort of hikes up the Reverend and leads him out of the building past Eliza. And the other guy turns to Edmund and says, what happened?"
We don't know. We found him here, just by the fireplace where you saw him, and he said that he didn't sound like he was in his right mind. He said that someone had made him do it, and then we saw what you've seen.
I don't even know where to start with this.
No. I don't think we do either.
Who are you folks?
We were invited here by the Reverend and Mary Brown to help with. She was concerned about the death of Netta, of the girl. So she asked us here to just help her look into things. But I don't know what's. This is just bizarre. This is not what we expected.
I should certainly hope not. I may have to call to the mainland.
There is something. There's something evil here.
Well, hopefully it's about to be locked up. I'll have to ask you all to come down to our station, such as it is. Should ask you some more questions.
That won't be a problem.
Is it just the three of you here?
There's one other who stayed with. We got a phone call to go to Mrs. McRae's, and Dane will be there.
Dane, okay. He takes out a small notebook and writes Dane in there.
I hope this is the end of it, but, I'm not so sure.
He gives you a quizzical look at that and says,
Well,
shall we?
I'm assuming, Johnny, that I didn't see anything with the powder that I threw over the corpse.
You did not.
That doesn't surprise me. I will have been not even paying attention to the policeman while this was going on and just staring, hoping to see something, but it's been long past that time now, so I turn around and just stand up, my knees and the front of my boots with blood on them, and just kind of nod and follow the others out. I think maybe while I'm passing the policeman, I just say, "We found her like this."
I hope for your sakes that's true. Let's cut to Dane, if we can, please, John. So, you are heading back towards the McRae farm. How is Dane?
I think he definitely had a look down to the ferry terminal just for half a second before he headed out. But no, he's feeling. I mean, I think he's seen stuff before in his work, and he's maybe even seen things like kind of sky burials and stuff like that, but always from a distance. And yeah, so he's pretty shook up. But I think now he's the additional adrenaline of sort of packing all that stuff away has maybe focused his mind a little bit. I think as he gets out of the village, he slows a little bit and maybe takes a moment to look at in particular the book and any of the kind of hefty items that he's picked up, if anything is new, if we've not seen it before.
Yeah, so
if anything would jump out.
Yeah, you're just kind of leafing through it as you're walking.
Yeah.
So
out of eye shot.
Yeah, so that book that Dane grabbed is full of, it's like a contact book. So it's full of names and addresses and phone numbers. You there are then two notes scribbled by Mary, one of which is to say it says Dion to call back, or Dion will call back, sorry. And the other is John Rowett dash 1st of October 1924 dash suicide by hanging.
Oh man. Is the Dion note dated or?
No, although she had said that morning that she was going to try and call Dion in a more official capacity, she'd said. Okay. So you could assume that she'd rung her and that she was waiting for a call back.
Okay, got it. I think, yeah, I mean, I think he's not going to necessarily kind of action anything in there at the moment, but just kind of making a mental note and yeah, if there's nothing else that just stands out of it's just loose paper otherwise, then maybe he just keeps on heading towards the farm.
Cool. Yeah, so you arrive at Mrs. McRae's farm, and she's kind of just heading out of the front door as you arrive.
Miss McRae.
Oh, hello, Mr. Harrow?
Yes, sorry to catch you. Were you just heading out?
Just to do some work around the farm, that's all.
Okay. Again, sorry to just arrive out of nowhere. I was wondering if you could do us a favor.
Quite possibly.
All it was is the journal you gave us earlier. It's very, very useful. Thank you. We just want to make sure before we carry on. We're hoping to visit a few more people around the island. Whether we could leave it again with you. I don't know if there's any storage in Netta's old room or anything that we could use.
Yes. Okay.
We're just a little bit concerned about, as you can imagine, at the moment. We're being careful about who we can trust with these things, and I think we all feel comfortable with you. So if you'd be happy, then
yes, of course. When you first asked, she seemed a little sort of uncomfortable, but you think the kind of flattery probably helped. Yes. Do you like me to take it?
Or if as I say, if there's a drawer or something in Netta's old room that you can show me, I'll just drop it in, and maybe a couple of other things we've got, if that's okay. And it won't be for long, I promise.
Yes, okay. Yes, come in. She kind of opens the outer door and then the inner door and holds one for you to pass through. And she says, "Would you like a tea while you're here, Mr. Harrow?"
Oh yeah, that would be brilliant, actually.
Okay, I'll show you to the lodger's room, and then we can have a tea. She takes you up the stairs and to a room that's nice enough. The kind of a lot of the bedding and stuff is all quite threadbare, relatively old, and it's obviously it's a room for lodgers, so and it's obviously not being massively kept up, but it's nice enough. It's just a bit sort of worn down, and there's a chest of drawers, and she says, "Please, any of those."
Thank you. Yeah, there's so many people coming in and out of where we're staying. We just want to be extra careful.
Of course, I'll start making the tea.
Thank you. Dane's kind of hesitating a little bit before he actually starts to take everything out of his pockets, maybe until she's left the room.
Yeah, she does head downstairs once she says that. So
okay, once he's kind of seen her off, he'll start pulling papers out and trying to flatten them out a little bit and just put them in there. Maybe he's folding as much as he can to put in the book and just make it look as inconspicuous as possible. But
yeah, are you putting everything in there that you've salvaged?
I think the papers, everything loose, everything that he's not sure what it is yet, probably, but perhaps the book, if it's possible, he'll put it in his inside pocket.
Like the contact list?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a relatively small, sort of like a A6 probably size.
I think if he thinks he could easily claim that it was his, then he'll just keep it on his purse.
Cool. That's all done. So are you heading down for tea?
Yes.
Cool. Tea is there, and she's put out a sandwich each as well, and says, "Please, if you're hungry, but don't feel pressured into eating if you're not."
Oh, thank you. You're too kind. I think he's definitely just feeling really sick and nauseous, but also conscious that he's taking advantage slightly. So I think he'll try and just eat some of the sandwich and drink the
tea. She doesn't massively try and make conversation. So if Dane's quiet, which I imagine he probably would be, it's probably just a relatively quiet sort of few moments while you drink tea and eat the sandwich.
Maybe after a few moments, I'll sort of realise that he should probably say something, and I'll ask her about whether she had any other incidents and whether she's seen the vet. And those would be probably the two questions he'd have.
No more incidents, but no, I think the vet is coming on the midday ferry, so hopefully it shouldn't be too long.
Oh, that's good news. Fingers crossed. Nothing to worry about.
I hope so. I could do without any more loss, Mr. Harrow.
Absolutely. Look, I'm sorry I kept you. Can I help with what you were doing? I think my I doesn't know whether to say colleagues or what here. I think my colleagues are going to head up this way at some point soon, and I'll meet them. But until then, if I can be of any help, let me know.
You're welcome to if you're passing the time. Is Dane planning on staying?
I think, given that he's sort of, at least for the next sort of half an hour, 40 minutes or so, he will kind of hang around and just, if she needs some help with something, she will. If it's much longer than that, he might need to think about something else. But I think he's anticipating that there's going to be a conversation, there's going to be questions to be answered, but then the others might be able to, come and meet him.
Okay, cool. Let's jump back to everybody else, please, John. So you are all led into a very small building, which is the Iona police headquarters, which is basically a couple of tables and some chairs and a holding cell, essentially, and one other door, which you're not sure where it leads to. So by the time you get there, John Moore has been put in the hold. And he's sort of basically in the same position that he was in the cottage, just sort of sat leaning against the wall.
He's not said anything else, I take it.
He's certainly not talking while you walk in.
Okay, so he got there before we did.
Yes, yeah. So the guy who had wandered back with you offers you all a seat. And he says, "So, tell me everything that you know." And the other officer chimes up from near the cell and says, "You don't need to worry. He's already confessed."
I think I will look at the Reverend for a moment when the policeman says that, a little sadly. We arrived not too long before you did to that house as it was. The Reverend hadn't moved a muscle.
He's scribbling down. He says, "Sorry, miss, what's your name, please?"
Miss Wallace, Jemima Wallace.
Sorry, continue.
Yes, he was muttering about what he'd done, that he'd been made to do it. We could see that something had gone on, and something more horrible was in the next room, just like you probably noticed when you came in. Myself and Mr. Carter head through. I kind of look at when I say that, so they know what I mean. Head through to the other room and saw, and then don't really say anything else.
Miss Wallace, I'm sorry, but just for our records, could you describe what it is that you saw when you arrived at the scene?
Yes. I think maybe I look at Eliza as well, and maybe one of the two policemen didn't see it, correct?
Yeah, I was going to say, Eliza is going to look very, like, she's going to be looking at Jemima. I'm not quite sure how she's going to respond, but she'll be looking intently.
I think I will look at the two of them and say, you two both never saw. It was horrible. Miss Brown had been taken apart. Her body was cut from almost the neck down the front, and her organs removed. I am a professional biologist. I was looking at the body before you arrived. Yeah. She had put up a fight, but it had been done while she was alive.
I think a sanity check for Eliza, please, Inga.
That's why I was looking.
Whatever she rolls, she's gone very, very pale.
And you hear the other police officer kind of sort of slump against the wall. You hear a kind of banging sound as he's still standing, but he's sort of, you figure his legs have probably gone to jelly and he's kind of collapsed back against the wall.
I suppose as well, Jemima's probably aware that she might be the only person who knew, because she hasn't said anything about that yet. She was the only person that knew that was the cause of death as well. So, and that makes it significantly more horrifying in a way.
It's a fail for Eliza, 59 over 33.
Okay, 2 sanity lost, please, for Eliza.
We knew her. She was an hour or two before she called to tell us. I think Jemima maybe pauses when she says that.
To tell you what, Miss Wallace?
To tell us to head to the McRae farm. Dane is still there.
Okay.
We can't let him go back, and if he tries to meet us back.
Is the door locked to the house?
The door has. You didn't see the door being locked. The door is closed.
I think Jemima maybe that will occur to her. Then she goes to the policeman. You should lock the cottage. You don't want other people seeing that. If Dane wanted in.
I can't imagine that anybody would stroll in, but yes.
Dane might. Oh, sorry.
And just for our records, when did you all arrive here? For your records, it was 2 days. It was 2 days ago. It was the Thursday. You're now on the Saturday.
Yeah. 2 days ago. 2 nights. We spent 2 nights here already. Yes.
Okay.
Yes, we're staying at, what's the name of the pub? Sorry, John.
Argyle.
The Argyle.
We're staying at the Argyle.
Is Kate all right? I must have given her a bit of a fright.
Mrs. McCabe, yes. Yeah, she's a little shaken, but I'm sure that you did her a kindness.
Make sure she doesn't go back as well. She'd come to make sure she and her husband make sure they don't go back.
Yes, please don't worry. We in fact Robert, he says, turning to the other guy, would you head back and make sure nobody can get in? And he kind of brings himself back up to his full height and nods and heads out of the door.
The one volunteer policeman that's left, what sort of person are they?
He is, you would guess, in his 40s.
Okay.
He looks relatively fit, sort of slim, about 5'9" or 5'10", relatively sort of just a normal looking guy. Really, he seems to be the more composed of the two. In spite of his vomiting when he saw what happened, he does seem to be sort of, if there was one of them that was a superior officer, you would presume it would be him.
Yeah, that was kind of what I was wondering. Okay,
cool. Okay. Does anybody else have anything to add to this statement, or can I put all three of your names against it?
I suppose the only other thing that may be relevant must have been very recent. We had a call from from Mary to Cameron Ferguson. What, an hour or two ago, something like that. I lost track of the time now, but today. So it must have just happened.
Okay. Well, I'm going to put a call into the mainland, but the coroner will be here today anyway to collect the body of Miss Fernario and take it over to the mainland. So perhaps he can take a look and validate Miss Wallace's here cause of death.
What about Mary had asked us to to ask around a little about Netta. What did she? Was there any similarity?
No.
I can't help but think it's Mary's curiosity about this that got her killed.
That's certainly well, I'm not sure why the Reverend would want to do this.
Do you still have the knife from Netta's, the site where Netta was found? Both Cameron and Jimmy mentioned that there was a knife. Do you still have it? You know that this is messed up. We're trying to... Something's going wrong here. Do you have the knife?
We do have the knife. Nobody was really supposed to... It's a small island, word gets around, but we were trying to keep that as under wraps as possible.
You may not have passed that message along to Jimmy or Cameron. They both mentioned it.
We did, Miss Smith, but well, people out at the ends of the island don't always have very many people to speak to, so probably make the most of it when they do.
Why were you wanting to keep it a secret?
Stop people from panicking. It was clearly a case of, the young woman was unfortunately, obviously, quite unwell, and was almost certainly exposure. That was the cause of death. I'm sure the coroner's final report will confirm that, I'm sure.
So why would a knife be worrying then?
Well, it was either probably unrelated or perhaps, she seemed to be into some strange things, so maybe just had it with her and dropped it. But, it didn't have anything to do with the death, so we wouldn't want anybody to worry about people being violently killed on the island.
Can I make a psychology roll?
Yeah, I was also thinking of making a psychology roll.
Yep.
By the way, now Edmund's pointed out as well, we didn't see a knife anywhere, did we? Is that correct?
I
think it would have been obvious.
I was looking for the knife. I didn't see it. Admittedly, I didn't roll spot hidden, but I was looking for.
Okay, but it wasn't obvious when we were in there, correct, Jonny?
It was not.
And you would think that, given the circumstances, he wouldn't have had any sort of consciousness about hiding it unless there was a specific reason. So that is it.
Yeah, I think you would probably expect it to either be near the body or in his hand still or near him.
Near him, and it wasn't any of those because he would have seen it. So that is an interesting point. I think Jemima's now thinking about that and very curious about that knife question. So
I passed on a psychology roll, by the way.
Good, because I didn't.
Yeah, I also passed.
You all think that his story about trying to sort of keep anybody from panicking is probably true. It's a small island. These people are not, they're volunteer police people. It's not like a big city thing where you might occasionally see things like this. It's like, this doesn't really happen here at all. So you can imagine that, the official report would have everything written up, but maybe to the paper, like the local paper or to the local populace, they might keep something like that hidden. Especially when, like he said, which is true, there doesn't seem to have been any involvement with the knife in the death.
How about when we mentioned the knife? It definitely didn't seem like he was already feeling nervous about the knife, as in it had just gone missing or something along those lines.
So he did seem a little sort of taken aback when you mentioned it, but then his explanation of why they kept it hidden is probably enough reason for him to have been shocked that you mentioned it.
Fair. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, you're staying at the Argyle, you say?
We are, yes.
I may be there later if I have any more questions, but based on the fact we have a full confession from the Reverend, I think that you're all free to go.
I don't know if he was in his right mind. I don't know if that certainly doesn't excuse what he did, but I suppose just maybe be careful.
I presume you know that Netta, and I recognize how this sounds, Netta had been wandering the island trying to communicate with spirits.
Yes, Mr. Carter, was it?
Yes.
I think everybody in the village was very aware of Netta's movements.
this... Is there anybody else on the island who has an interest in... I won't say that they're not spiritual matters, I can't say that, but unusual beliefs. I'll phrase it like that.
No, I don't believe so. I think everybody in the village attends the church services. Not that I'm saying that. I mean, I think Netta came to a couple, but I think everybody who is actually, who lives here on the island is relatively devout.
Sorry, Jonny, we haven't seen or passed a church or been introduced to any kind of reverend or minister or of any kind. We haven't heard of any.
You haven't been introduced to a minister. There is, I think at one point I mentioned the church. If I didn't, it's an oversight on my part. There is a church in the village, but you haven't yet hit a day of worship, so it's not massively surprising that it hasn't come up as a thing.
Okay.
If that was going to be some epic thing where he just like, oh yes, we're all religious and there's no church.
No sort of large wicker statues or anything like that.
Well, I've wondered about it before, where obviously we had the Reverend has turned up on the island, but it hadn't really come up. So, but yeah, so it's just good to know that there is one. Okay.
Yes, there is a church sort of at the edge of the village.
Cool. Please, I know this is maybe not normal, but Mary, well, she'd asked us to help her, and obviously we failed miserably. But more importantly, she was a friend. She saved my life once, and please just let us know if there's anything that we... Just please let us know if you learn anything.
Of course, Miss Smith.
Thank you.
He stands kind of expectantly. Well, I hope that you... I think you should get yourselves some food and drink if you can, and some rest.
We have a long lingering look at the Reverend before we go. I'm guessing he's in exactly the same position he was.
He's actually moved to sort of laying on his side on the floor.
Mm-hmm. Looking away from all of us?
Yeah.
Looking at us? Okay.
Well, he's not literally back to you. He's sort of, his feet are kind of pointing towards you, and he's looking towards the opposite wall.
Okay. I guess I kind of tried to catch his eye, but not very much. But I'm assuming he will not look, so I'll just leave.
Should we go back to the Argyle and wait for Dane there, or I suppose maybe we ought to go and look for him at the farm?
Maybe best just to head to the Argyle for now, or I suppose gather us. I don't know.
We should probably explain things to Kate.
Yeah.
Perhaps we can ask them to call the farm.
Yeah, that's probably best. Don't know what to do now.
As soon as we start heading back to the Argyle and we're kind of out of earshot and sort of obvious suspicion, I think I'd have given Dane the real journal, but I'd have kept my copies of it on me.
Okay. Yep.
So I will pull out my scribblings there and try and look for the exact wording. But if I recall, there was something about her hope to put the dead, make them whole again, or something like that. And I'll be looking for whatever it was on that journal entry.
Yeah, John, if you've got it to hand, can you put the November 13th one on screen, please? So the wording is a trip out to near the lock again today. I really feel the energy is starting to coalesce there. I'm sure I'll be able to contact something soon. I hope one day to be able to bring people here to make their spirits whole again. There's been so much pain and loss, the war and everything. I just want to help people. Dion was worried that using the book would only bring suffering, but I feel it can be used for good, especially with the energy here on the island. I will go out again tomorrow and hope I get closer to a meaningful outcome.
The book certainly brought suffering. And I'll like when I find the kind of notes, I'll just like read this little bit aloud to the others and just say, "Spirits whole again. Is there any connection here to what's just happened to Mary? It's all upside down. It's all wrong. It's all back to front. It's all the opposite of everything Netta was trying to do."
Edmund, you said that Mary, she was the one who saved you, right? Both of you.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, you said she saved your life, Eliza.
She read from the book and she banished again. Banished is not the right word, but she was able to protect us from the ringmaster, to drive it away by reading something from the book.
And now
We were surprised by it as well.
and now it's got its vengeance on her, I suppose.
A thought struck me earlier with the dreams of plagues, and this twisted religious iconography. I think it's this entity mocking us. I think this is the entity mocking religion, mocking us, just showing us absolute disdain and just twisting the things that we hold to be religious.
But forgive me if I'm mistaken, but none of us is especially religious. Other than, of course, the Reverend. It's a mockery of his beliefs, I suppose. Jemima, you knew him better than we did. Was he fixated on the plagues? Was he, with everything that happened with you, was there anything here that makes sense? This seems a bizarre vengeance on Mary. It almost seems like a mockery of the island. If there was some supposed religious significance to Christ coming back here or something, that's not us. That's the island.
And we know it's here. It's here now. You realize it came in the daylight too.
It could be anyone. It could look like anything.
We thought from her letters, at least, maybe we would be okay now. But however it appeared to influence the Reverend, I don't believe that it would be possible.
I think we need to call Dion again.
We need to speak to her. We need to tell her that this is escalated. She needs to help us, and we need to find out who could possibly be that contact, who's newer on the island, who spends most time on the mainland. Who could it be that has some connection to all this book and everything that Netta was involved with? Who could that possibly be, other than the Reverend, of course?
It could be it. We know it can take many forms. What if it tricked her? Now it has the book. Then we'd all be doomed.
Well, then, yes.
But she came here for a contact.
Yes, but so did what was his name? The man you met at Fingask who called you there. His contact was it, correct? It can trick people so easily.
Yes, but he was he wasn't known to Sir John beforehand. It was a new person that he'd met. It wasn't as though he took the form of somebody that Sir John already knew and trusted. It was a new person who was new to the island.
Either way, if we don't find anyone else, then there's only one answer that makes sense, and that's the worst one.
It is. I was really hoping we'd get a chance to search the place before the police arrived.
They really shouldn't let anybody off the island.
And he saw it. The Reverend, he saw it. Just there. If only we could have
How is he still
more about
sane?
it. Understood
Edmund,
what effect it had on him.
Edmund, you were catatonic for you saw him and you saw it and
through the lens.
Yes, and the Reverend just saw it and did all of that, and he could still speak. He could still make sense of things. How can he possibly bear it? How can his mind possibly bear something like that?
He has been studying this for some time, though. Perhaps in a sense it's something he's been preparing for, and yet it still took over, told him what to do. Edmund, did you feel like it could have commanded you when you saw it truly? You would have done anything for it? That's a weird question, but I'm trying to imagine how it could have done that to him.
No, of course you wouldn't, Edmund.
No, I don't mean it like that.
I didn't get a sense of anything trying to attack me. I was just overwhelmed by seeing 1,000 forms at once or more.
It didn't take over minds, though. So John was all his own mind. He wasn't taken over. It was he had his own mind. I don't understand. Is there the ringmaster and something else? Is the ringmaster doing something new now? Does he have the attacks on her mind, the taking over of the Reverend, assuming, of course, he was taken over? This is all new. We haven't encountered anything like this before. We all had our own minds as much as we possibly could have done, but we were all ourselves before. Our choices were our own.
I think we need to speak to Dion.
Let's get back to the trial.
Yes.
We should call Dane first, but then we should call Dion.
Oh, another question. It's not necessarily pertinent now, but in all the confusion, it slipped my mind. This demon sultan. Jemima, you seem to recognize the phrase?
Yes, it went from my mind too, obviously. I read it in a book before. I have it back at the hotel. I can show you it there.
Okay, that would be, yes, useful to know.
We need to tell Mr. Brown. I suppose the police will do that, won't they?
I suppose they will. We need to find a way of fighting this. We can't let this continue.
We can't. It has to stop.
Mary did it once, but she had the book. As you said, whatever we do, that should be our top priority. Finding it, getting it. We'll just have to pray it's not in the hands of the creature.
It sounds like it already is. We have to get it back. We will. How far away are we from the Argyle now?
Yeah, so shortly after you kind of finish that conversation, you round the corner to where the Argyle is, and Dane is waiting outside for you. So Matt can come back on.
That's handy.
Having assisted Mrs. McRae with some farm work. So he's probably looking a little sort of dirtied up. Yeah. Not the weirdest thing you've seen today, though.
I think he's just going to give them a nod.
I think Eliza might run up and give him a hug. Yeah.
Are we out of earshot, by the way, of the sort of police station, or are we just in the
there's not anybody around. The police station's sort of a few hundred feet away from your current position, so that's fine.
Are we in the Argyle now, or are we just kind of outside the front of it?
Dane was outside, so unless you've gone in, you're outside.
Okay, so we're just kind of out the front.
Was everything all right?
Well, I'm glad to see you were all okay.
They let us go. Confession from the Reverend. A few questions, nothing more.
How did you explain where I was?
I said you stayed with Mrs. McRae.
Okay.
You hadn't been there.
Well, she'll vouch for my presence at least. I took what I could. It's in Netta's room. I didn't know what we need, what we didn't. I just took what I could, and it's all in there. For what it's worth, I mean, how could it possibly? How is any of this going to help us? It can do anything. It can, if it's made the Reverend do that, it can make any of us do anything. I said I was here to help, but there's nothing we can do about this. There's nothing these papers, and then anything he's got in his coat still is going to kind of get them out and just sort of throw them out. Like, this is not useful in this situation. What could we possibly do?
Information is worth so much, Dane.
It's really not.
Did you take the earrings?
Yeah, everything is there.
You wanted them. You wanted to try the dust on them. We can do that now.
That's not my priority right now.
No, but
assuming that Dane didn't bring everything.
Can you explain to me what we could possibly do about this?
We were just talking about it on the way here. There's only one possible thing that can be done. Mary, God rest her soul, she fought it. According to these two, she got rid of it. She obviously didn't destroy it.
Look how it went for her.
she did the right thing. She did the brave thing, and she saved our lives. The least we can do is try to save our own, let alone those of everybody else on this island, this world.
Eliza's right. If Mary hadn't have done that, maybe everyone else there would have died. If we live here now, the same thing could happen to this whole island. There's one thing we know that can work. One thing. If we find the book, it could maybe.
So, explain to me. Just run me through this, because as far as I can see, we just need to. We don't. As far as I can see, we can't help. We are overpowered. We don't know what we're doing. But I committed to being here, and if you can explain that to me, how we can make any kind of impact, then I would love to help. But I'm despairing at the moment.
It doesn't even matter if we don't know exactly what we're going to do now. We have to do something. We can't do nothing. We have to. If we don't know enough, we need to find out enough, and then we'll take the next step. But despairing will do us no good at all.
There's one thing
to take charge of what we can do.
It's one thing we should all agree on, though. Whatever this thing is, it's clearly incredibly powerful. We should avoid it at all costs, if at all possible. If we have any suspect that it may be someone, or maybe somewhere, or maybe inclined to do something, we need to stay away from it until we have more of an idea what's going on.
It just feels like we're waiting for it to pick the next puppet that it wants. It could be any of us and anyone we know.
And who's to say it won't follow us to the mainland doing that? We don't know anything about it. Perhaps we're already wrapped up in its schemes. It certainly seems so with our dreams and everything, Dane. What possible option do you think we have?
It followed Mary from Inga to Iona. What makes you think that leaving will be any safer? Unfinished business has killed Mary.
I think I will grasp Dane's hand and say, Dane, look, I know it's frightening. I agree with you. If I'd known that this sort of thing would happen, I never would have come. But whatever's happening, we're in it now. I don't know if there's an alternative.
Those two, and no disrespect, but they knew so much more than we do, and it didn't get them anywhere.
They may have known more, but they didn't know the right things. We have to know the right things. We should. Jonny, what time is it now, roughly?
Early afternoon, 1:30, 2 p.m.
Okay. Oh, what a day!
The mist hasn't completely lifted from this morning, by the way, so visibility is better now, but you've still got a mist. So yeah.
Well, first things first, we need to call Dion again.
What is she going to tell us?
Netta would always fall back to Dion in terms of the diary entries. Dion would get Netta out of trouble. I suspect Dion has more idea of how to combat this sort of thing.
Well, look, maybe this is helpful. And then he'll take the contact book.
Yep.
Out of his pocket and just show the group. Look, it looks like Mary did call her, and she's due to call back. Yeah, maybe she's available.
We need to call her first, then, before she calls the house and the police pick up. You see, the
I guess her number is in here, right?
Well, we'll have called.
Yeah, we've already called.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
There's no point lying about any of this anymore. It doesn't matter.
We need to tell her that we need her help. She knew exactly what Netta was doing. She was scared it couldn't be stopped. If she has any decency at all, she'll tell us anything she can to help us.
Okay. Just before we go down this road, how do we know if something like that is about to happen again? I mean, Smith, you're armed. The rest of us.
Not anymore. I'm not. Please.
Yeah, I was going to ask. Yeah.
It doesn't seem.
I'm assuming they didn't give me my gun back, or did they?
They did not.
I still have mine in my room, but
you believe that once you are fully sort of cleared, once the investigation is closed, it will be returned to you.
Look, given that we know it can manipulate minds, surely weapons are the thing we want least of all. Clearly, we can't hurt it with our own weapons. Having weapons is just going to allow it to make us hurt each other.
I was going to say, they look relieved to see that she doesn't have the gun anymore.
Take no weapons. Certainly, if it takes control of one of our minds, if that person is unarmed, perhaps the others will have more of an ability to.
Let's just stay away from anything we might use.
Edmund, you don't know of anything that might help protect our minds, do you? I haven't come across much in my reading. I'm presuming that's true, Jonny. Anything we've read at all that might help shelter someone's mind from intrusion, but that's probably pushing it.
Well, I was going to ask about the diagrams, the pub diagrams,
Given that we've both been reading, I know, that's why I was asking Edmund, I figured, but it's pushing.
Well, actually, I mean, so the Eltdown Shards that Edmund has been reading does talk about mind transfer, but I don't know whether it would have, broached the subject of how to.
That's not come up in anything I've been reading, so.
Why don't you, Steve? Jemima asked Edmund the question, right? Yeah. So if you make a roll on, when I gave you the description of the Eltdown Shards, there was a Mythos rating number. I can find it for you if you need it. He says. I'll find it.
Amongst yourselves.
Just about to go grab a tinfoil hats, guys. It's just.
Please get something for this. That would be so useful. I'm happy for Edmund to go upstairs and read.
Mythos rating 33. There we go. Like a bus. None and then two at once. Yes, if you make a roll, if it's.
I got 52.
No.
Okay. Yes, you don't manage to find. You don't manage to find exactly what you're looking for in there.
I was going to ask So I was going to ask if there's anything from all of the old biddies I've been speaking to all of this time, picking up on Samuel's research in the interim, if there was any almost like old wives' tales of or superstitious sort of rituals or whatever that people would do or if there's any discussion about protecting them from hearing things from the other side or anything like that. But yeah, just on the off chance. But yeah.
Make
less scientific.
Make an idea roll.
So 13, which I think must be under my idea.
That's certainly going to be a success.
Yeah.
The only things really that are commonly mentioned for any, you can't think of anything that is specifically to stop somebody else controlling your mind. But the things that typically come up for anything for protection is salt. So the only thing that you think kind of springs to mind is salt circles for protection.
I don't know about any science, but maybe we need to go back to some of the old wives' tales and things. I'm willing to try anything really at this point, but Netterall obviously believed in some of this old folk business and looking for the fairies and things like that. There's obviously there was the ritualistic circles, the druidic circles that echoed the circus in Fingask. I think there are echoes of things like this. I may ask Kate for some salt. It's completely mad, but I'm willing to try anything. Maybe
Dane can barely hide his kind of frustration, but he will because he's very polite.
Barely hidden, successful hiding of frustration.
Mr. Harrow, there are other things I've learnt, but I'm afraid that they are not. There's something of a last-ditch attempt, and I don't know what would happen. So I'm loath to jump down that hole too soon. But I have been studying a limited amount of information since Fingask. So we are not. Yes, we are woefully ill prepared for this, but we have some fight in us, I think.
This will reveal it, if it is close enough, I'll say, showing the powder. Not that, from what I understand, that's something we would want to see.
No, but if we ever had any suspicion that someone was not who they claimed to be, there you are, Dane. You wanted to know. How could we possibly know if somebody was suspicious? There's your answer. We have resources. It's brilliant, Jemima. Brilliant.
We still don't have much, though. Look, if we have any hope of finding more ways to combat this or to fight it, I think we should talk to Dion right away. As you say, before she calls the cottage.
Just for reference, with your is it Dust of Ibn Ghazi, or Powder of Ibn Ghazi, you have used probably each time that you've used it, you've probably used a fifth roughly. So you've used 2/5 of it. So you've got sort of 3 decent applications left, or a few smaller applications.
On a bit of jewelry sort of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, cool.
We never got the chance to ask Mary about magnifying glass.
We'll have to presume that's not here as well, then, unless we get anything more.
I suppose we can't go back to the cottage and search it ourselves now, can we?
Not without blotting our copybook.
And we're not talking to the Reverend ever again, I suspect.
I'm not sure what the point would be. Jemima, do you want to speak with Dion again? Do you think it would be better if it's not someone who was obviously lying last time?
Yes. I can talk to her again. I think she'll understand that I did what I did. It's probably best. Do you agree?
I honestly don't know, but it seems to make as much sense as anything else.
Yes, I think Dion. I think we can reveal Netta's diary entries to Dion. I think that will help explain the magnitude of this calamity.
I'm not, unless anyone has any specific request, planning on keeping anything from her. The more I say, perhaps the more she'll be willing to help. And God damn it, we need some help.
I agree. We need to press her for anyone who could possibly be the contact. Any way that she knows of the book, anything, just anything.
Yes, if there are any other members of her order here on the island, if she knows of any other people like that,
yes,
that would be
fine.
useful to know.
You can. I'm sure if there's anything I forget, you can remind me.
Sure.
And if she knows of any way to stop this,
or even simply, yes, what she's done in previous situations when Netta got too deep. That might
I will probably
help us.
kind of head into the Argyle as we're saying these things while I'm at the point of willing to call, I think.
If we head inside, I'll look out for Kate.
Yeah, I'm also looking for them.
So the front bar is empty, but you hear voices and you think crying from the back room.
Can we listen?
Yes. You want to make a roll? See how well you can hear from.
Just before we sort of barge in.
I was totally going to barge in, but if Edmund's going
to Edmund's ears are shot. I don't think he hears anything. 62 over.
Yeah, I think
62 over 20. That's not going to work.
Eliza can barge first if she likes.
Well, I say barge, knock gently, but definitely heading that way, I think.
Yeah, okay. As you knock, you hear like a.
It's just us.
The door opens and it's William, and he says, "Hello." And you see Kate sat in a chair, and she looks up and instantly stands and kind of comes towards you all with some pace, and goes, "Oh, thank goodness," and reaches up and kisses you each on the cheek and kind of puts her arms around you.
Sweet.
I was so worried about you all. That you said that the Reverend and Mary there.
I think if she actually hugs us and is so worried about us, Jemima genuinely starts sobbing when she hugs her, because that's kind of overwhelming, and she's been very trying to be stoic, but she did fail her check. So Jemima is just kind of sobbing in her arms, assuming she doesn't let go.
No, if you start crying, she doesn't let go. No.
Thank you for getting the police. It's not all right with the Reverend and Mary, I'm afraid, but I don't know what might have happened if you hadn't acted so quickly. So, thank you.
Jemima's just like, I'm sorry, and kind of trying to detangle herself from this woman she doesn't know very well.
Let me I'll boil some water and make us all some tea. Please sit down.
I'm afraid we have some phone calls we need to make. I think we owe it to our friends.
Yes, of course. Please.
But please don't trouble yourself over tea and things for us. Can I make you a cup of tea?
No. I'm better busy, aren't I, Bill? She says, and William says, "May." And he puts his arm around her, and they head over and start making drinks.
Jemima is like wiping her face with like a handkerchief and is trying to quickly compose herself.
Is the telephone in a separate room? Like, can that be done sort of more privately, or could we retire to somewhere else with, maybe with William and Kate to sort of?
It is in the next room, so you
Yeah.
you can close the door and make a relatively private phone call. They'd overhear sound, but it would, they'd have to be purposefully trying to listen in to be able to hear what you were saying.
They're angels. That would never happen. If no one else does, if no one else says anything, Jemima will probably head into that.
Is everybody going, or is just Jemima going? And
I was thinking Liza might stay out for tea and distracting Kate and William, or chatting to them, comforting, distracting, some combination thereof.
I think I'll follow Jemima.
I think as long as one person's with Jemima, Dane will probably stay.
Yeah, I think Jemima will be like, "Thank you, Edmund. I might forget some things in my state as I am." Okay. With kind of shaking hands, I start turning the thingy on the dial, the phone.
The phone rings only once before being answered. Hello?
Hello, Miss Fortune. You may recognize my voice. We called. It was just yesterday evening now, wasn't it?
Yes, yes, I remember. It's,
I have to apologize. I wasn't entirely truthful with you. I'm sure you can probably imagine why. We know more than you might imagine about many of the strange things that the society that you are maybe no longer involved in study. I don't mean to judge you at all for it. It certainly has dragged us in far too deep now as well.
I tend to presume that anybody who phones me these days, it's to do with that. So I'm not surprised.
We need help. One of our close friends who has got us out of these situations before, she's dead. She was killed by it.
It?
I personally don't have a memory for this sort of thing, Jonny, but what are the different terms that have been used for it? Because Jemima would definitely remember it was...
This is a tricky one, because... Well...
Yeah, this depends on what Jemima... It's the conversation that you had earlier.
Yeah,
about...
so I would use the one from my book that we talked about specifically that she mentioned in her notes, did she?
The Demon Sultan.
Yeah, the Demon Sultan. So that's the first one I would say. So I think my response to it would be the Demon Sultan. And then maybe pause for a moment and then go, the Ringmaster. It seems to have many forms.
I don't know anything about a Ringmaster, but... Jesus Christ.
Can I hear elements of this? Can I sort of lean in and have my ear near
I think you're
I think if, yeah.
It appeared as a pharaoh. The thing that I've seen with multiple forms. Sorry, my name is Edmund. I'm here with Jemima. It appeared as a pharaoh. A pharaoh was one of its forms, but it seemed to delight in taking alternate shapes. that was the thing that Mary Brown, I presume, phoned you earlier on today. You were going to call her back.
She's the one who's dead.
Mary Brown drove what we refer to as a ringmaster back. That is the entity that I've seen as a pharaoh.
She did it using the book that Netta had. But someone, or maybe even the thing, has the book now.
Shit.
Precisely. Well, we don't know. If it does, I suppose we're all doomed. But Netta's,
do you know
diary
of this pharaoh? Does that ring any bells with you?
Look, these things that you're describing, they're two different things in a kind of hierarchy. The pharaoh, right? The shapeshifter. That's, I suppose, if you're into your secular religions, that's your Jesus. And the Demon Sultan, well, that's... Well...
We've been having dreams of these things. We all dreamed of the pharaoh. So you're saying it's not that either way, these things, they either think that they are that part of the religion, or in some way this is connected to them, or these secular beliefs. That's a horrifying thought.
I guess the reason we're phoning is because one of these, we believe, controlled the Reverend and caused him to kill Mary. And Netta explained how she was being attacked. She thought her mind was being attacked. So the pressing concern for us is: do you know of a way that we can protect ourselves from that whilst we figure out what's going on? That's the question at the front of our minds. The other one is, do you know what Netta was trying to do here? Why she came?
She was a nice woman, Netta. And she'd become frustrated with what it was possible to do with what we know of sort of healing magics. And that as far as she was concerned, there were negative magics that were much more powerful than positive magics. So she was trying to sort of, I don't know, bastardize the bad stuff to... I told her it was a terrible idea.
She realized that. She thought of you.
That's been done before. with limited success for us. Back in the village we were in when we first encountered the book, one of the spells from it was used on our doors, but it was used in the opposite way it was intended, and it protected us. It did work, so perhaps she was onto something.
I'm not saying it doesn't work, I'm just saying it's too dangerous.
Yes.
Look, let me have a look through some of my books, and I'll give you a call. Give me your number, the number where you're at, and I presume it's not the same one that I got earlier from.
It isn't. No.
Don't call that number. The police will be there. They won't understand. Of course.
Give me this number, and I'll call back once I've taken a look. But look, after that,
I give.
Once I've looked at this and I've called you and given you what I can find, I'm coming there. And she hangs up the phone. And we'll leave it there for this week.
Yes, that's what we needed. Some help. Mine was the point of begging for help, so that's good.
Just got some Bonnie Tyler, I need a hero coming right now.
Well, as long as she doesn't get, stuck on a train due to bad weather and diverted to...
Oh, no, she's stuck in a village on the borders. What a shame.
Nothing bad could happen there.
We'll have to send Melvin's uncle to get her.
Cool. Thanks everybody for watching. If you've got any questions or comments, put them in the chat, and John can put them up on screen for us to have a chat through. Run through promo stuff again. So Monday nights, as you are very aware, Call of Cthulhu. Tuesday nights are Blades in the Dark. Tuesday nights. Yeah, that was kind of a weird sentence. Wednesday nights, Simba Room. The first Saturday of every month is a different one shot. The next one is on the 2nd of October. And so far we've had such things as Alien, Troika, Morkborg, The Expanse, Honey Heist, The One Ring 2nd edition, and Dungeon World. Did I miss anything? I might have done. I don't know. That was all off the top of my head. I don't even have my document up anymore.
Fiasco. I was gonna, maybe Fiasco.
Fiasco. I don't think I did.
The Expanse.
Said that.
Oh, you did say that.
Said The Expanse. Yeah. Oh yeah. Thanks for the follows from. Sorry if I pronounced this terribly. Bemtevi Pew. Matt Art Draw, of course. Save the Ginger. Novicius. Blueberry Dogs 2. Thanks for those. Save the Ginger is a reference to the first arc of Call of Cthulhu.
Oh, by the way, that reminds me, even more than anything else now. Oh my God, Kate and William was her husband? Oh no. Oh no.
God.
I think as a human, if something bad happens to Kate, I will not be able to play Jonny. Not as a character, as a human. Just fair warnings.
Yeah, I need like 3 days off work.
Oh my God.
Okay, I might need 3 days off work.
Sweethearts.
So did that go in the direction you thought it was going to? Jonny, anybody?
It went vaguely in the direction I thought it was going to, but I have an advantage in that regard.
I thought we were way more screwed by the police.
I wasn't planning to call for the police at all. It totally just came out in the moment. And then afterwards, I was like, that was a really dumb idea. There's all this stuff that we don't want to
No, it was the best idea. Get it over and done with. Because the thing is, outside of that, we would have just been, on the run? That would have been a much worse idea. And that could have happened, given how riled up we all were. We might have just tried to leg it. I think having the police come at that point was definitely the best.
It was just appeared, and I was like, oh God, she can't get in here. Like, but what do I do to send her away? And I was like, well, actually, she kind of should. Yeah, it just...
Yeah.
If the police had come in with one person with a gun to one person's head and 3 others reading books, it would have been quite hard to explain.
Yes. I'm really wondering how much you prepared Jonny for the situation. If we all decide to just leg it, and be on, and like the rest of it was going to be us like trying not to be caught by the police for this murder that we were now involved in.
Wow, that'd be something.
Would be. It wasn't really what our characters would be like to do, to be fair, but we're all pretty riled up.
I think Damon was definitely despairing, but almost like him talking to you guys about the threat made him realize that the threat is so bad it really doesn't matter where he is. So
yeah,
it's possibly
sorry, Dane.
going anywhere else.
Sorry, Dane.
I'm so glad.
Yeah,
I'm so glad Eliza picked up that question about is there another one? Because I'm really bad at lying.
So it was the artful say a fact that doesn't quite answer the question, but is distracting enough.
I really enjoyed asking that question because I knew that the response was going to be incredibly uncomfortable.
I'm sure you did, you monster.
When I had a few moments when I was telling the tale back in the police station when I realized I'm just going to have to change this slightly at the very second I was about to say, and Dane did this thing.
Yeah.
It's all Dane's fault.
Yeah, it's all him.
I tried to stop him.
I had a bit of therapeutic farming to help bring me down, but still had a bit of an outburst.
Dane was just aggressively hoeing the soil the whole time.
God, amazing.
That corner of the field is really, really well done.
Just watering sunflowers like loads of water.
Pop us the comment up again, John. Very tense. Wendelius, same for Ginger. Well done, everyone. Especially enjoyed the cat cameos. Somebody else has commented that Inga's cats should have like credit for
their own stream, I reckon.
Being the fifth character.
I've been away over the weekend, and so they are being extra needy today. So they
nice.
All over me.
Wendelius, very tense, and we should be thankful those were simpler times when police were less suspicious of strangers. Yeah,
I know. I'm shocked at how like nice these police are. Like nowadays, you'd just be like done. You'd be like, "There's no." If you were like caught on the scene of the crime, even if there was an admission, you'd be screwed.
We knew they were slightly useless, the volunteer police officers, anyway, and there was a confession. So I was like, we could totally play this. We could totally.
I was wondering when I mentioned the knife whether that was going to kick things off or not. But I thought,
you guys were pushing it. I was sitting there like, just say nothing and leave, and then you were like, "Oh no, we're going to quiz about this." I'm like, "What are you doing, you maniacs? Now you're trying to get us locked up."
That's the Stardew Valley subplot I haven't unlocked yet from John. Yeah, imagine. I'd play that. That's all. Thanks everybody for watching. We've probably got 2 sessions of this arc left. Probably. I've only got 1 more cliffhanger planned, so that means 2 episodes, doesn't it?
No.
And the cliffhanger's not for the last one. I hope.
Yeah, I mean, TPK doesn't count as a cliffhanger, right? That's just the end.
I mean, unless it's an actual cliff.
Yeah. Thanks for the idea, Steve. And see you all next week, or tune in tomorrow night for Blades in the Dark and Wednesday night for Simba Room. But see you next Monday. Bye, everybody.